Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TUBEBUDDY. I've used TUBEBUDDY for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TUBEBUDDY is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TUBEBUDDY and level up your channel faster. We working. Wow, Canelo and Canelo team under fire and facing extraordinary criticism for the Avni Yildirim fight by a journalist who hails from Mexico that works with ESPN. We're going to talk about it. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. Let's jump right into it. Now, Team Canelo, the walls are closing in. It looks like they're constantly having to rebut and speak against and respond to criticism. And rightfully so. The Avni Yildirim fight is what people knew it was going to be. And, you know, now they're facing the music. So David Fetelson, you guys see, verified page. He has 3.6 million followers. He works with ESPN, Deportes, Los Golpes, and this is the criticism that he had. And he, full disclosure, him and Canelo have went back and forth several times because he has had some criticisms for Canelo in the past. Some people, they say he's hating, but can they prove what he's saying wrong? But anyway, let me get to what he said. He says, so Saul Canelo Alvarez and Eddie Reynoso Canelo team, they acted with treachery and advantage. So basically they took advantage. They knew the great shortcomings of the Turkish fighter Avni Pilgrim and agreed to go into the ring with him. The result was an embarrassing spectacle for a sport like boxing. El Canelo has no need for it. So he's like, what are you doing? Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm interpreting the last part, basically saying like, bro, you're a good fighter, but you took advantage here, right? And this fired up Eddie Reynoso, and he has now responded. He says, there are toxic people in sports journalism like you, like the hell, nothing else fits us, you bastard. Sorry to all who read this for being rude, but how castrous is this guy? Long live Mexico. So the long live Mexico has nothing to do with what he's saying. You know what I mean? That's like almost a scapegoat, you know, just banging at the end. It's like, you know, throwing up a Crip sign after you said something or posted a video. But he said there are toxic people. But what is toxic about what he's saying? Like, if you I could go to DAZN's page right now, and the overall feedback that I have seen for that fight hasn't been good. So it's like almost like Canelo's team needs a reality check in terms of the pulse of the people. You know what I'm saying? So this is another one. It says there's not much to say. It will take many, many years for another Canelo, other blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is another athlete. It's time to support us Mexicans and stop giving us blowjobs. These athletes put our Mexico on the map. Hashtag Mexican power. Hashtag Tapatios power. So again, the prideful hashtags, you know, banging ethnicity and national pride, that has nothing to do with the criticism that Canelo was receiving. People that like boxing, Boxingego, they want to see a good fight. You know what I'm saying? All the other additional stuff that you're saying is not answering the question that's right in front of you. David Fetelson, look at his tweet again. He's not saying nothing. He's from Mexico too. And he's not saying nothing about like, oh, Mexican pride or blah, blah, blah. We got to stick together. He's not saying nothing like that. He's saying Canelo took advantage, and he's outlining what rubbed him the wrong way about Canelo's choice of opponent with the WBC. And they're calling him toxic. Canelo has also responded to this as well. And we'll slap on the Google Translate. It says he's a beggar, attempted journalist who's frustrated. But what does that have to, this is like old media talking points. He's telling you and illustrating and using his words to eloquently speak and let you know what aspect. He says you took advantage. You fought a guy with all these shortcomings and whatnot again, and that was weak. You know, you don't need to do that. You're representing a sport like boxing, and he's saying he's a failed attempted journalist. I mean, how is he an attempted journalist when he has 3.6 million followers and he has a show on ESPN? You know, what is there to be frustrated with? And once again, the walls are closing in for Canelo. It's like he's frustrated with the response, but the response will continue to probably be what's closer to what has been. Look, that dude got more followers than Canelo, and he's saying he a fake journalist. You know what I'm saying? But it's not about Twitter followers and stuff. We know Canelo's getting money and getting paid, but literally these things have nothing to do with what Canelo, like I seen Canelo's, there's an article, Canelo says that in Mexico, they don't want to support, and he doesn't get support because people basically are hating. But that's not the thing. It's looking like how you're moving. You're up here, you left DAZN, you left Golden Boy, you know, so you're doing all this, like your promoters putting all this stuff like Tapatio's Pride and Mexican Power, but you left the Mexican promoter and you're with a white promoter from Great Britain. You know what I'm saying? And that's cool, to each his own. I don't care who you're signed to. I'm just saying, like, all that other stuff. You know what I mean? So what does that have to do with the moves you're making? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, people want to see good fights. So if they feel you're not delivering, you will have criticism for that. So don't be fooled by all the other stuff. The actual criticism stems from this. This guy put up zero effort. There was zero resistance. The fight was a dud. You reserved a football stadium, and it just wasn't worth it. Like, even the fact that you teamed up with Eddie Hearn, that also made it worse, because Eddie Hearn is the type to spend other people's money or DAZN's money or whatever and try to make it look like a bigger spectacle. Like, if you just did this fight in a small venue that it probably should have been in, that wouldn't have been as embarrassing. But when you reserve a stadium, a football stadium, and then this is what people spend for, then of course there's going to be disappointment, and people are going to be like, yo, what was that? You know, you're in a bright, vivid, poppin' city like Miami. You're in a football stadium that's outdoors. I don't know what the ticket prices were, but this was the end result. A guy who threw no punches. Now, you could say, oh, it's not Canelo's fault that he didn't show up. But yes, it is, because Canelo had to have known. He sparred this guy before. They're sparring partners. So you know if he's pushed you to the brink. Like, for example, how come this didn't happen with Danny Jacobs? Danny Jacobs sparred several rounds with Sergey Derevyanchenko, and they both were in a true fight. So you know and get a feel for who pushes you in sparring. So it is Canelo's fault. You know what I'm saying? And it is the WBC's fault. They took a guy, this is the end result. They took a guy who's coming off a 2-year layoff. Like, you knew the outcome, right? In addition, Canelo's next fight is already booked. They got graphics and flyers and trailers. So you knew they weren't going to put Canelo in a difficult fight if they were really the fight that DAZN might not care about this, but they open up DAZN UK and they're trying to do the Billy Joe Saunders, and they think maybe they could get some traction there. So you know this was pretty much a setup fight for Canelo to win. So the fact that Eddie Hearn and DAZN opted to try to make it into a spectacle made it look worse, because you get everybody's attention, and then we stop. Like, let's say I'm in the middle of the mall and I just start screaming, and everyone like surrounding and passing storekeepers and employees and stuff, everyone stops to look at me. And then I'm like, oh, I'm just playing. I just wasted everybody's time. So I'm screaming bloody murder in the middle of the mall, and I get everyone's attention, and I literally have nothing to say. You know what I'm saying? That's what this fight was. And it looks like it's striking a chord with Canelo's team, and they'll probably go after people like David Fatelson, say he's hating people. The Canelo fight fans, they gotta do better. They just keep saying everybody's hating, like everybody wants to see. I enjoy watching Canelo fight. You know, ain't nobody trying to see him fail, but it is a sport. He's in pajamas You know what I'm saying? He looks like it doesn't even look like he's in a fight for the fight week. They got a golf course. They got a golf course in like, I've spent time with fighters on their fight week, and a lot of time, like, even though I'm close with some of their teams, they need downtime where they just sleep and stuff like that. This man is playing golf and, you know, walking around in pajamas. After the fight, he's sipping coffee. You know why? Because it was easy work where he robbed the bank, and the fight, you know, took little effort. However, if you fought David Benavidez, for example, it's going to require your full concentration and effort, because David Benavidez is a beast, or Jamal Charlo or Demetrius Andrade. It's not going to be like being on some, you know, some cruise ship where everything's just smooth sailing like you're on a resort, you know. And that's what Canelo looked like. He took this fight in Miami really because it was easy work and he wanted a vacation. You know what I mean? Him and his team be in Miami, chill out, nice weather, food, stuff like that. So it was really like a vacation. So I agree with David Fetelson. I don't know what Canelo's team is talking about. I agree. It was a bad look. It was a horrible fight. Mauricio Suleiman, I got a video coming. He's apologizing, saying, I'm sorry for this fight. So what does that tell you? It tells you that this was a fight that really didn't need to happen. And Canelo continues to have these fight. Look at his last 3 fights. Kovalev, Caleb Smith, and Yildirim. All 3, there was one common denominator. Canelo looked either good. He didn't really look good in the Kovalev fight, but he got a knockout. You know what I mean? But the other 2 is just one-way traffic, and your opponent looks like, who is this guy? I never want to watch this person again. So Errol Spence, Floyd Mayweather, Chavez Sr., all these other great fighters, Oscar De La Hoya, they had tough fights. You know what I mean? So Canelo is just the only one. He's the golden child where none of his fights will be hard. Or is it that he's fighting guys with these advantages and rehydration clauses and quick turnarounds and guys that should have never been in there with him to begin with? So I understand the David Fetelson, ESPN Mexico criticism. And again, the walls are closing in. Canelo Cinnabons, they're just saying that everybody who has the same criticism, from Nacho Beristain to Juan Manuel Marquez to Eric Morales to David Fetelson to Boxingego, they're all saying the same thing and have been saying the same thing for years. In Mexico, they actually hold Canelo to a standard because they feel like, hey, we want you to do well, but you're representing our beautiful country, right? So do it in the best way, like Chavez did, like Salvador Sanchez did, like Finito Lopez did, like the great Juan Manuel Marquez, Marco Antonio Barrera, Eric Morales did. That's what they want. But Canelo's team, for whatever reason, they're stubborn to their ways, and they think it's just everybody's hating, and they just won't give Canelo credit. Why wouldn't people from his home give him credit unless they just genuinely don't like the moves that him and his team are making? Marquez never was faced with this. Nobody called Marquez a diva or treated him like this. He knocked out Pacquiao, and I'm sure he went back home and he was like a super legend. You know what I mean? So there's a reason for this. Marquez fought everybody. Pacquiao, Mayweather, he's fighting tough fights. Juan Baby Bull Diaz. This is not a Baby Bull Diaz, and you've seen it by his output and his performance in Average Pilgrim, right? So Canelo, they're in for a reality check. I think people are just kind of falling off. And it's funny because when I say these things, that people where he's from, back home in Mexico, they're saying the same thing. They say I'm racist. So you have Chicanos and different people that say I'm racist. Who's really racist here, right? They say, oh, you're biased. So I'm biased, but David Fetelson is from Mexico, and he's saying the same criticism about Canelo. This look is shaky. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. 2021, it's about to get a whole lot more interesting. Shout out to everybody. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. This will be a great year. Again, Canelo can keep moving like this. Like, at the end of the day, people tell you what they want from you, and they ask of it. Canelo's his own person. So continue doing what you're doing, and you'll continue getting the same feedback. You don't have to change. No one can force. He's a grown man. No one can force Canelo to fight Benavidez or Charlo or Andrade, but they'll probably just continue complaining when he fights the people he's fighting under the circumstances he's fighting them in. Very simple. Very simple to understand. Shout out to David Fatelson. We working. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.